So I have in front of me two outstanding specimens of one of the best wildlife attracting trees, and one of our most interesting native trees here in Central Florida, and that is the Morus Rubra, or red mulberry. So red mulberries are naturally occur in mesic hammocks, mesic and hydric hammocks, and bottomland forests. They can take some flooding in their natural habitats, which kind of widens their natural distribution. But red mulberries are amazing trees. You can see all these kind of large sort of ovate leaves of the red mulberry. The tree that's in front of me, I got two trees here in front of me that are about 30 to 40 feet tall. And these are large for red mulberries. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So you can kind of get a view of the foliage. And if you look closely there, it's mid-March here in Central Florida, and you can see these trees are absolutely loaded with fruit. So Morus rubra is a dioecious species, meaning that it has male and female trees. So this tree in front of me happens to be a female, and it's making abundant fruit right now. No ripe ones on there yet, but birds absolutely love these trees. And I will say too that the berries are very tasty. Some of the native reds don't have really tasty fruit. They're not real sweet like some of the cultivated varieties, but they do make very much an edible fruit for both animals and people. So again, like I said, they're native. They grow in hammocks, and they're almost always in the understory, like a mid-story tree. So we'll go over here. We got another one over here. They like moist soils. They're adaptable. They're very vigorous trees. They grow fast. They grow really fast. Now here's a good, for windy today. So here's actually a really good shot of the foliage here. This foliage is indicative of Morus rubra, the native red mulberry. A lot of things get sold as red mulberry that are not red mulberry. Red mulberry, Morus rubra, will hybridize with Morus alba. Morus alba is what you see commonly all over on roadsides and stuff like that. And this is actually a good, so you can see the immature fruit on this plant here. But you can see the leaves are not shiny. They have kind of like a fuzzy underside to them. And they have this real pointy tip and finely serrated margins. Like, just take a look at that leaf. The real native Morus rubra is most identifiable to me by its leaves. A lot of people don't say that. Mulberry leaves are highly variable in the sense that sometimes they're sort of like shaped like they're lobed, like 3 lobes or maybe 2 lobes on one side, and then, you know, they can have really varied shapes. When the trees get mature, they tend to make this type leaf most abundantly. The younger trees make like a weird sort of palmate leaf that's deeply lobed. But if you see one like this leaf shape, this is a native red right here. And that's one of the things I was talking about. I had another video where I talked about the southern magnolias and their gene pools being polluted. So mulberries hybridize. So, but this is the true phenotype of the native red that's widely distributed in the United States. But you'll see a lot of things that aren't native red sold as red mulberry or identified as such. So here's another one here. Here's the trunk. The other thing is that bark with the white like lichen growth on it. They tend to have a common association with that type of lichen or whatever it is, fungus. So the growth habit of the trees is kind of like they'll grow up and then they'll get these It's hard to tell in this angle. You can see a lot of the fruit on this one too. There's a lot of fruit on it. But they'll kind of grow like an umbrella shape. It's pretty natural for a red mulberry. So they'll grow vertically, and then they'll get these long lateral limbs. So they make, if you grow them in a landscape, they make a really nice shade. And because the leaves are not totally opaque, they make this really cool, like the light comes through them really nicely. And again, they're real vigorous growers. They'll grow for you in a wide variety of scenarios. And you can grow them from seed easily. They don't need to be stratified or anything like that, in my experience. So, but a lot of these berries that you'll find on these native trees don't have viable seeds in them. Stand in an ant bed. But some do. So it's good to just, you get seeds from a tree like this that's out in the middle of a big hammock like this. These aren't going to be polluted seeds. These are going to have good genetics. They're going to be native reds. So, and this is obviously a very mature tree right here. This is a gorgeous tree. And again, it's growing here in association with cabbage palm, live oak, sweet gum. There's basswoods in here. Sweet bay magnolia. There's some hickories, southern magnolias scattered in. So this is classic hydric hammock here in Pasco County. So I have several red mulberries. I love them. It takes them a while to fruit from seed, but they're just such a good tree for wildlife. If you want to attract songbirds and stuff like that, they're an amazing tree. So let's look a little bit closer at the bark. You can see the bark is like got this plated look. This is what they look like when they're mature. When they're young, they'll have sort of like a light colored gray smooth bark, but you'll a lot of times see this lichen growing on them, and they'll be like sort of spotted. They have really interesting looking bark. And again, this is definitely a mature tree right now that I'm standing in front of here. So Morus Rubra. It's a red mulberry. It's definitely one of my favorite trees because it grows vigorously. It makes edible fruit. And, the wood on a red mulberry is renowned as being extremely decay resistant. It was used to make fence posts and stuff like that for a long time. Settlers used it for that. You can see some of these branches up here and the way that growth habit works. So the trees fruit most heavily on second year's growth. So whatever grew last year is where the fruit's gonna come most abundantly the previous spring. So if you're wanting to plant a tree, particularly have some, part shade areas for wildlife, this will make a really good like centerpiece tree in your landscape because the birds are going to really key in on it when it's fruiting. And it just makes really gorgeous foliage. And again, Morus Rubra. It's a red mulberry. Check it out.